The casket hovered like a goddamn accusation over the muddy hole in the Iowa soil, polished mahogany gleaming under the relentless summer sun. And Carl couldn't hold it in anymore. He barked out a laugh, sharp and ugly, right there in the front row of folding chairs. His family shooting him looks like he'd just pissed on the grave. It wasn't the grief that broke him. It was the memory of Harold's stupid grin from last Christmas, the one that said, "I know you, brother, better than you know your own sorry ass." And now that grin was sealed under 6 feet of dirt, mocking Carl from the great beyond. As the preacher droned on about eternal light and bullshit redemption, a single envelope slipped from the casket's edge, tumbling into Carl's lap like a grenade pin pulled, addressed in Harold's looping scrawl, "For the straight one who thinks he's fooling everyone." Carl's fingers trembled as he tore open the envelope, the paper crisp against his callous palms, still smelling faintly of Harold's cologne, that cheap, sandalwood crap from the truck stop that always lingered like a bad decision. The funeral crowd blurred into a haze of black dresses and hushed whispers, his mother dabbing at her eyes with a tissue that looked like it had been through a war, his stepdad, Harold's old man, staring at the ground like it owed him money. Carl's laugh had died in his throat the second that envelope hit his knee, replaced by a knot of ice that spread from his gut to his chest, squeezing until he could barely breathe. He unfolded the letter, Harold's handwriting jumping off the page like it was alive, all loops and flourishes that screamed artsy faggot in Carl's head, though he'd never say it out loud. Not anymore. "Dear Straight Arrow Carl," started, "if you're reading this, I'm probably worm food, and you're still pretending you're the all-American boy next door. Remember that summer in '09, when Dad married your mom and we became this fucked up Brady Bunch remix? You were 14, all crew cut and football dreams, and I was the skinny kid with the sketchbook, hiding boners for the quarterback instead of the cheerleaders. You hated me on sight. Or so you told yourself." Carl's vision tunneled. The preacher was wrapping up, folks starting to shuffle toward the grave with their handfuls of dirt, but he couldn't move. That summer, Jesus, felt like yesterday and a lifetime ago. The farmhouse in Des Moines, creaky floors and endless cornfields, where the two families collided like a bad blind date. His mom, fresh off a divorce from his deadbeat bio dad, beaming like she'd won the lottery with her new husband, Tom. And Tom, lugging in his teenage son Harold, who showed up with a duffel bag full of graphic novels and a rainbow pin on his backpack that Carl immediately wanted to rip off. "Your new brother," Tom had said, clapping Carl on the back too hard. Brother. Like that word could glue them together. But it didn't. From day one, Carl poked and prodded, calling Harold fairy boy behind closed doors, shoving him during chores just to watch him stumble. It was easier to hate him than admit the pull, that magnetic thing that made Carl's stomach flip when Harold laughed at his dumb jokes or sketched him mid-throw on the football field. "You're straight," Carl told himself, jerking off to internet porn of tits and ass, ignoring the dreams where Harold's hand lingered too long on his shoulder. The letter continued, pulling him under like quicksand. "I always knew, Carl, about the looks you'd steal when you thought I was asleep on the couch. The way you'd linger in the bathroom after my showers, pretending to brush your teeth. You think betrayal is what I did to you? Nah, brother. You betrayed yourself every damn day. Check the attic in the old house. The box marked H&C Summer '09. It's time you stopped running. Betrayal." The word hit like a sucker punch. What the hell did Harold mean? Carl's mind raced back to junior year, when things escalated from petty shit to full-on war. Harold had come out at school, blunt as a hammer, standing in the cafeteria with his chin up, declaring he liked boys, and the room exploding into whispers and slurs. Carl, sitting 2 tables over with his jock buddies, felt his face burn. He could have stood up, said something, anything, but instead, he joined the chorus, laughing the loudest when someone called Harold a cocksucking freak. That night, at home, Harold cornered him in the kitchen, eyes blazing. "Why'd you do it? Carl, we're family." "Doesn't that mean shit to you? Family." Carl had spat back. "Family doesn't mean I gotta pretend you're normal." The slap that followed echoed for years, Harold's palm cracking across his cheek, then the kid crumpling, tears streaming. "Normal," Harold whispered. "That's your cage, not mine." They didn't speak for months after that. Carl buried himself in football, girls, the straight-laced script of small-town America, while Harold dove into art school dreams, sneaking off to Des Moines Pride parades when Tom wasn't looking. Now, standing there with the letter clutched in his fist, Carl felt the weight of it all crashing down. The mourners were tossing dirt now, thuds like heartbeats against the casket, and his mom touched his arm. "You okay, honey?" Her voice was soft, laced with that Midwestern concern that could curdle milk. He nodded, shoving the paper into his pocket, but inside, he was unraveling. Harold, dead at 28 from some bullshit car wreck on a rain-slicked highway outside Chicago, racing back from a gallery opening, they said. No note, no warning. Just gone. The reception was at the old farmhouse, same one they'd grown up in, now sagging under the weight of too many winters. Tom had insisted. Harold loved this place, even if it chewed him up. Carl drove there alone, windows down, the wind whipping through his short-cropped hair, trying to outrun the letter's ghost. But it clung, whispering attic, box, truth. By the time he pulled into the gravel drive, the sun was dipping low, painting the silos blood red. Inside, the air was thick with casserole smells and murmured condolences. Cousins he hadn't seen since high school clapped him on the back. Tough break, losing your bro like that. And Carl forced smiles, his laugh from the grave a distant echo he prayed no one remembered. He slipped upstairs while the crowd buzzed below, the attic stairs creaking like old bones under his boots. Dust motes danced in the slanted light, and there it was, a battered cardboard box, H&C Summer '09 scrawled in marker. He dragged it into the corner, heart hammering, and pried the flaps open. Inside, a tangle of Polaroids, ticket stubs from county fairs, a mixtape labeled for the jock who hates dancing. And at the bottom, a journal Harold's, leather-bound and worn. Carl's hands shook as he opened it. The first entry dated July 4th, that godforsaken summer. Carl's got eyes like storm clouds, the kind that promise thunder. He hates me, but I think he hates himself more. Watched him today by the creek, stripping down to swim. God, the lines of him. If he only knew how many nights I've sketched him, hidden in my bunk. Carl slammed it shut, breath coming in gasps. No. This wasn't. Harold couldn't have. But the images flooded. Lazy afternoons in the hayloft, Harold reading comics while Carl pretended to nap, their legs brushing accidental on purpose. The time they got drunk on Tom's hidden whiskey, Harold confessing his first crush, a boy from art class, and Carl's response, a mumbled, "That's fucked up," followed by a punch to the arm that lingered too long. Touches that weren't brotherly. Stares that burned. Downstairs, the laughter of relatives grated like sandpaper. Carl pocketed a Polaroid, the two of them, arms slung around shoulders at the fair. Ferris wheel lights blurring behind, and descended, the journal tucked under his arm. He needed air. Needed to think. But as he stepped onto the porch, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Read the whole thing, Carl. Page 47. Love always. How? It was like Harold was haunting him already. Carl's laugh at the funeral twisted in his gut. Not cruelty, but a desperate deflection. The last shield against this flood. He slipped behind the barn, the journal falling open in his lap under the fading sky. Page 47. Tonight, I kissed him. Or he kissed me. Doesn't matter. It was fire, Carl's mouth tasting like beer and regret. We said it was the booze, the heat, a one-time mistake. But it wasn't. And tomorrow, he'll hate me for it. For making him feel what he's so scared of. The kiss. Carl remembered it now. Sharp as shattered glass, the barn loft, cicadas screaming outside, Harold's lips soft and insistent after that bottle of Jack Daniels. Carl had pulled back first, wiping his mouth like it had burned him, muttering this never happened, and it didn't. Not officially. They buried it deep, letting resentment grow like weeds over the truth. Tears stung Carl's eyes, hot and unbidden. Harold knew. All along, he'd known Carl's secret, the one Carl guarded fiercer than his own heartbeat. Straight bullshit. He'd dated women, sure, high school sweethearts, a college fiancé who left when he couldn't perform. But it was always Harold in the shadows, the what-if that kept him up at night. And now, the dead man was forcing his hand. The night deepened, stars pricking the velvet sky, and Carl sat there until the reception lights flickered out. He wasn't ready to face the family, not with this bomb ticking in his chest. But Harold's voice echoed from the page. Stop running. For the first time, Carl wondered if he could. Dawn broke over the farmhouse like a reluctant confession, pink streaks bleeding into the gray, and Carl hadn't slept. The journal lay open on the nightstand, its pages a minefield he'd only half navigated, each entry a grenade lobbed from Harold's heart straight into his. He rolled out of bed, muscles aching from the porch vigil, and stared at his reflection in the cracked mirror. 30 years old, lines etching his forehead like fault lines, eyes the color of that creek where they'd skinny dipped as kids. Straight arrow Carl. Harold had dubbed him, and damn if it didn't fit, ex-Marine. Now a mechanic in Cedar Rapids, grease under his nails and a Ford truck in the drive that screamed compensation. Downstairs, the house was a tomb of remnants, half-eaten Jell-O salads congealing on the counter, sympathy cards piled like fallen leaves. Tom was at the kitchen table, nursing black coffee, his face a roadmap of grief, jowls sagging lower than Carl remembered. You look like hell, son, Tom grunted, not unkindly. Stepson, technically, but after 20 years, the lines blurred. Harold would have said you need a shower and a beer. Carl forced a chuckle, throat raw. Yeah. He always knew how to fix me. The words hung heavy, laced with subtext Tom couldn't hear. He poured himself coffee, black as tar, and sat across, the journal burning a hole in his jacket pocket. Tom. Did Harold ever say anything? About me? I mean, before the end. Tom's eyes, faded blue like Harold's, sharpened. He talked about you plenty. Said you were the only one who ever really saw him. Even when you two were at each other's throats. A pause. The clock ticking like a countdown. That laugh at the funeral, folks are whispering. You want to tell me what that was about? Carl's grip tightened on the mug, ceramic biting into his palm. Nerves. Grief's a bitch. Like, smooth as oil. But Tom's nod was weary acceptance. Midwestern men didn't pry. They swallowed shithole and called it breakfast. After Tom shuffled off to nap, Carl escaped to the truck, journal in hand. The drive to the cemetery was autopilot. 20 minutes of cornfields whipping by, radio static crackling with some country tune about lost love that hit too close. He parked crooked by the gates, the air thick with cut grass and regret, and trudged to the fresh mound. Flowers wilting already, a teddy bear from some niece lashed to a stake. He sank to his knees, dirt staining his jeans, and opened the journal again. October 2015. Carl's engaged. To Sarah. Saw the ring flash at Thanksgiving. She seems nice, blonde, bubbly, everything I'm not. But when he looks at me across the turkey, is there that spark? Later, in the garage, he corners me. You happy? Ask. He nods too quick. Lies. Engaged. Yeah, that clusterfuck. Sarah from the diner, all curves and giggles, the girl every guy in town wanted to wife up. Carl proposed on a whim, drunk on normalcy, her yes a ticket to the life he was scripted for. But the wedding night, limp as a wet noodle, excuses piling up like snowdrifts. She stuck it out a year before bailing, citing irreconcilable differences, code for your checked out, buddy. Harold had been in Chicago by then, chasing graphic novel deals, but he'd sent a card. Congrats, bro. May she make you as happy as you pretend to be. Carl had burned it in the sink, flames licking the sarcasm. Now, under the oak that shaded the grave, Carl traced the words, a sob ripping free. You bastard, he whispered to the headstone, Harold James Whittaker, 1997 to 2025. Artist. Dreamer. Loved fiercely. Why'd you leave this for now, when I can't fight you anymore? The wind rustled leaves. Almost an answer, and Carl kept reading. Entries blurred into a timeline of their fractured orbit. Harold's move to the city, the postcards with sketches of Skyline Boys that Carl hid in his glove box. Carl's deployments overseas, emails from Harold laced with miss you that he deleted unread. Then, the betrayal, the real one, the knife twist Harold hinted at. June 2022. Back home for Dad's birthday. Carl's drunk, picks a fight in the yard. Calls me every name in the book. Faggot. Mistake. Why couldn't I just be normal? I snap. Tell him the truth. I love him. Not brotherly. The real deal. He freezes, then decks me. Blood in the grass. Get out, he says. Don't come back. I left that night. Haven't spoken since. Carl's knuckles went white on the pages. He remembered the fight, booze-fueled rage masking terror. Harold's confession landing like a live wire. Love. From his stepbrother, the one person who saw through the armor. Carl's fist had flown before his brain caught up, splitting Harold's lip, the crack of bone on bone echoing his own shattering. Fucking liar, he'd roared. But it was himself he meant. Harold fled to Chicago for good after that, radio silence stretching like a chasm. Carl told himself it was for the best. Straightened up, dated a string of bar flings, buried the ache under engine grease and Bud Light. But the journal didn't stop at pain. It wove in tenderness, sketches tucked between pages, Carl's profile in charcoal, fierce and vulnerable, a poem scrawled on a napkin, "Your silence is my loudest song," and letters unsent, addressed to him. "Carl, if you're reading this, know I forgave you that night in the yard. Because I get it. The fear. The Americas that chews up boys like us and spits out husks. But you don't have to be afraid anymore. I'm gone. But the love? That's eternal." Tears soaked the paper, ink bleeding like wounds. Carl pressed his forehead to the cool granite, the stone unyielding as his secrets. Around him, the cemetery hummed with life, birds calling, a distant mower droning, but he was adrift in the past, Harold's ghost wrapping around him like smoke. Hours passed. The sun climbed high, baking the earth. Carl stood finally, legs numb, and drove back to town, the journal a talisman on the passenger seat. He needed answers not from pages, but from the living echoes. First stop, the old high school, shuttered now but for summer camps, where it all started. He parked in the lot, gravel crunching, and wandered the football field, ghosts of cheers rising unbidden. There, under the goalposts, he found it, the spot where Harold had sketched him that first summer, sprawled in the grass after practice, sweat slick and shirtless. Carl dropped to sit, pulling out the Polaroid from his pocket, the one from the box, their arms around each other, grins wide and innocent. In the photo, Harold's eyes held a secret spark. Even then, Carl traced the lines of his own younger face, wondering when the mask had solidified. A voice cracked the reverie. "Carl Whitaker? Holy shit. Man, it was Mike, old teammate, jogging the track in shorts that showed off a beer gut." They clasped hands. Awkward bro hug. Mike's grin all teeth. "Heard about Harold. Tough. You holding up?" "Yeah. Just remembering." Carl's voice was rough. Sandpaper over gravel. They shot the shit jobs, wives, the Eagles' crap season. But underneath, Carl probed. "You ever talk to Harold much?" "After he left." Mike shrugged, wiping sweat. "Couple times. He was in town last year. Some art thing. Said you two had beef. But he missed you. Weird kid. But solid. Hey, that laugh at the funeral, what was that? You high or something?" Carl's stomach twisted. "Grief. Man. It's funny sometimes." Mike bought it, clapping his shoulder before loping off. Alone again, Carl lay back in the grass, sky vast above, and let the memories crash. That night, back at the farmhouse, the family gathered for a muted dinner, ham reheated, potatoes mashed to paste. Tom's sister prattled about recipes, but Carl's mind was elsewhere, the journal's revelations fermenting into resolve. After plates cleared, he cornered his mom in the living room, fireflies winking outside the screen door. "Mom, did you know about me and Harold? Not just brothers. More." She paused, knitting needles stilling, her face softening into that knowing maternal glow. "Honey, I suspected. The way you two circled each other like magnets or bombs." Harold told me, years ago, after the fight, said he loved you. I told him to give you time. Time. Carl's laugh was bitter, echoing the graves. Time ran out, but her hand on his steadied him, a bridge over the chasm. As the house slept, Carl returned to the journal's end. Harold's final entry dated a week before the crash. Chicago's lights are bright, but lonely. Sold my first comic about two brothers, one straight, one not, finding their way. Dedicated it to C. If he ever reads it, maybe he'll see. The secret's not mine, Carl. It's yours. Come find me when you're ready. Or don't. But live true. The crash report, tucked in the back like a gut punch. Hydroplaned on I-80. No drugs. No alcohol. Just rain and speed. Harold's phone records showing a missed call to Carl's number. Voicemail. Undelivered. Hey, bro. Saw your truck in the shop pics online. Still fixing what's broken? Miss you. Call me. Carl played it in his mind, the voice warm as bourbon, and wept until dawn, the secret cracking open like an egg, yolk of truth spilling free. The comic. Harold's words burned in Carl's brain like a brand, pulling him east on I-80, the truck's engine growling in rhythm with his pulse. It was 2 days after the funeral, the farmhouse a pressure cooker of pitying glances, and Carl couldn't breathe there anymore, not with Tom's slumped shoulders or his mom's tentative hugs. He needed the city, Chicago's concrete jungle where Harold had bloomed while Carl withered in the heartland. The journal rode shotgun, dog-eared now, its confessions a roadmap to redemption or ruin. Interstate blurred into a ribbon of asphalt, corn giving way to suburbs, then the skyline stabbing the horizon like jagged glass. Carl's phone buzzed sporadically. Texts from work, take all the time you need, and from Mike, hit me up for beers when you're back. But one number stood out. Unknown? Carl. It's Elena from Harold's gallery. He left something for you. Come by? Elena, Harold had mentioned her once. In an email Carl never replied to. Met this curator chick. She's cool. Pushes me. Carl punched the address into GPS. Wicker Park. Artsy district reeking of hipsters and hope. He arrived as dusk settled. The gallery a converted warehouse with exposed brick and neon signs flickering Whitaker. Shadows and sparks. Mourners milled. Tattooed artists in black. A drag queen dabbing glittery tears. Harold's world. Vibrant and unapologetic. Carl felt like a bull in China, his flannel and boots clashing with the vibe. But Elena spotted him quick. Mid-30s, sharp bob, eyes like a hawk. You must be Carl, she said. Hand extended, grip firm. He described you perfectly. Brooding mechanic with a heart of whatever's under all that rust. Carl snorted, masking the pang. Guessing he didn't leave me a still life of carburetors. She led him through the crowd, past canvases exploding with color, cityscapes twisted into lovers' embraces, figures half shadow, half light. One stopped him cold. 2 men on a Midwest porch, one laughing, the other watching with quiet fire. For C, the plaque read. The laugh that broke the silence. Elena handed him a package, wrapped in butcher paper, heavy with promise. The original comic proofs. And a letter. He finished it last week. Said it was his goodbye to you. Her voice cracked. Just a hair. Harold was. He lit up rooms. Talked about you like you hung the moon. Even after the silence. In a back office, amid stacks of prints and coffee rings, Carl unwrapped it. Brothers in the Corn. A 48-page graphic novel. Panels bleeding emotion. The dedication. To the one who laughed last and loved first. He flipped pages. Story unfolding like their lives. Young Carl. All angles and denial. Harold. Soft edges and secrets. The kiss in the loft rendered tender. Not tragic. The fight a storm cloud bursting. Climax. Carl at a grave. Wait. No. A mirror. Confronting his reflection. Harold's ghost whispering say it. Tears blurred the ink. He knew, Carl murmured. Elena nodded, perching on the desk. About the ending? Yeah. He said you'd come. Eventually. Or you'd burn it. Either way. Closure. They talked then, Elena spilling Harold's last months. The crash of success. A boyfriend who bailed. Too intense, Harold joked. The pride parade float he designed. Rainbow veins pulsing through steel girders. He was happy, Carl. Messy, but real. Carl absorbed it. Shards of jealousy mixing with ache. Harold living loud while he played small. Night fell hard outside. Streetlights haloing the windows. And Elena poured whiskey from a flask. To Harold, they clinked plastic cups. The burn steadying him. What now? She asked, eyes probing. Carl stared at the comic. Harold's art a lifeline. I go back. Face it. The family. The town. Myself. She smiled. Sad sweet. That's the American dream, right? Reinvention. A beat. Then, he left you something else. From a drawer. A USB drive. Recordings. For the book tour he never did. Listen when you're alone. Carl pocketed it, the weight symbolic, and left the gallery to the hum of after-hours chatter. His motel room in Logan Square was a dive, threadbare quilt, TV flickering infomercials, but it suited. He cracked a beer from the mini-fridge, booted his laptop, and plugged in the drive. Files popped up. Track 1. The beginning. Harold's voice filled the speakers, warm as a hearth. Hey, Carl. If you're hearing this, the veil's thin. Start here, that summer. You remember the fireflies? We'd chase them in jars, pretending we could keep the magic. But magic slips. Like us. The recording wove narration over comic panels. Carl synced on screen. Harold's timbre pulling him under. Laughter in the anecdotes. Pain in the pauses. Track 3. The betrayal. You hit me, bro. Hard. But I get it, fear's a motherfucker. I betrayed you too, though. By leaving. By not fighting harder for us. The word hung. Electric. By midnight, Carl was 3 tracks in. The room spinning with whiskey and what-ifs. Track 4, The Secret. Silence first. Then, it's not just mine, Carl. Yours too. I saw it in your eyes that night in the barn. The hunger. You've hidden it well, the girls, the service, the straitjacket life. But it's eating you. Let it out. For me. Carl paused it, chest heaving, and paced the threadbare carpet. The mirror over the sink showed a man unmoored, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes wild. He thought of the enlistment, post-fight, shipping off to Afghanistan as escape, sandstorms and IEDs dulling the inner roar. Buddies in the barracks, roughhousing that skirted too close to want. a sergeant whose grip on his shoulder lingered in nightmares. Straight. The word was a noose, tightening with every denial. He hit play again. Track 5, Chicago Nights. Harold's voice turned playful, recounting hookups in Boys Town leather bar. Guy with a beard like yours. Tasted like regret. But hey, practice. Carl laughed. Raw. The sound echoing his funeral bark. Then sober, but none like you. The what could be. If you'd let it. Dawn crept in, gray light filtering through blinds, and Carl crashed. Dreams a montage. Harold's lips. The punch. The grave. He woke to pounding, housekeeping, or his skull, and checked out, comic and drive in tow. Back on I-80 westbound, the skyline shrinking in the rear view, resolve hardened. Harold's gift wasn't just revelation, it was permission. Home spat him out into normalcy. The shop buzzing with oil changes, Buddy's ribbing vacation glow. Whitaker. Carl nodded through, hands steady on wrenches, but inside, gears shifted. That night, beers at the VFW. He scanned the crowd, old flames, male and female, blurring lines. A touch from Jake, the bartender, on his arm. Missed you, man. Carl didn't pull away. The real storm brewed at the farmhouse, Sunday dinner looming like Judgment Day. Tom called, families gathering. Harold's things to sort. Carl arrived early, truck rumbling up the drive, journal and comic clutched like shields. His mom hugged him fierce, whispering proud of you, though for what, he couldn't say. They gathered in the living room, boxes open like Pandora's, sketch pads, vinyl records, a rainbow flag folded neat. Tom unearthed a photo album, pages sticking with age. Look at you boys, he chuckled, voice thick. Pictures flooded. Halloween costumes, pirate and ghost. Prom, Harold Stag. Carl with a date he forgot. The barn loft pre-kiss. Innocence intact. Carl's throat closed. He was everything. The room stilled, Tom's brow furrowing. What you mean? Time to crack the dam. Carl pulled out the comic, sliding it across the coffee table. Read this. It's us. The real us. Tom's fingers trembled on the cover, his wife's hand on his shoulder. They poured silently, gasps punctuating panels, the fight drawn visceral, the love unspoken but vivid. When Tom looked up, eyes wet, why didn't you say? Carl shrugged, voice breaking. Scared. Of this. Of losing you all. His mom squeezed his hand. You won't. We're family. But the betrayal lingered, a shadow. As dusk fell, Carl slipped to the attic, box from the funeral still there. Deeper dig, letters from Harold's exes, a will naming Carl beneficiary to his art, to my brother, my muse, and a video file on an old thumb drive, H&C, age 16. Homemade, shaky cam. Them wrestling in the yard, laughter tumbling, ending with a hug that held too long, eyes locking. Carl watched, heart fracturing, and realized the secret's reveal wasn't destruction, it was birth. Something new, raw, rising from the ashes. Weeks bled into months, Iowa autumn painting the fields gold and crimson. But Carl's world stayed monochrome until the comic hit shelves. Brothers in the Corn exploded, indie buzz turning to national whispers, reviews hailing it as a gut-punch queer Midwestern odyssey. Carl watched from afar at first. The shop radio crackling NPR spots. Whitaker's stepbrother, the inspiration, remains private. Private. Yeah, that was him, holed up in his apartment above the garage, nursing hangovers and half-truths. The calls started trickling. Reporters sniffing for quotes. Elena pushing promo. Tore the damn thing, Carl. For Harold. He resisted. Until Tom's plea over pot roast. He'd want you out there. Telling the story. There's Tangled and True. Carl caved. Booking a reading in Des Moines' small venue. Low stakes. But as the date neared, anxiety gnawed. Standing under lights, bearing the bones. The night arrived crisp. Leaves skittering across sidewalks like fleeing secrets. The bookstore thrummed, 50 seats. Standing room packed with locals eyeing him curious. He took the mic. Hands slick. Comic propped open. "This isn't my story," he started. Voice gravel. "It's Harold's. Our stepbrothers in arms bullshit. The love we buried under denial." Gasps rippled. He plowed on, reading the Loft Kiss panel aloud. Words tumbling like confession. Q&A turned therapy session. "Was it real?" A woman asked, eyes shining. Carl nodded. "Real as the punch I threw after." Laughter. Uneasy. Then applause. A guy in the back. Lean. Bearded. Mid-20s lingered after. Book signed. "Brave," he said. Name tag reading Alex. Reporter. "Drinks?" Off record. Carl hesitated. Old instincts screaming danger. But Harold's voice echoed. Live true. The bar was divey. Neon buzzing. Pool balls cracking. Alex bought rounds. Questions gentle. "How'd it feel?" The reveal. Carl sipped. Barriers crumbling. Like drowning. Then breathing. Their knees brushed under the table. Accidental sparking intentional. And for the first time, Carl didn't flinch. They talked till last call. Alex from the city, covering queer lit. His own coming out scars fresh. Harold's work. It hits home. Carl's laugh was soft. Genuine. He had that gift. Seeing the hidden. Outside. Under street lamps. Alex leaned in, hesitant. Electric. The kiss was tentative. Tasting of IPA and possibility. Carl's hand cupping Alex's jaw like handling fragile china. No barn shadows. No regrets whispered after. Just now. But dawn brought backlash. Small town teeth. Monday at the shop. Whispers slithered. Saw you in the paper. Whitaker. Stepping out. Buddy's grin was edged. A client's stare lingering judgmental. Carl's mom called. Fierce. Ignore him. We're proud. Tom too. Gruff. Your old man's got your back. Yet the conflict simmered, internal war. The straight script clashing with this new rhythm. The tour ramped up. Chicago next. Elena's gallery hosting. Alex tagged along. Their hotel rooms adjacent. Nights blurring into explorations. Hands mapping scars. Bodies sinking like puzzle pieces. This okay? Alex murmured post-climax. Breath hot on Carl's neck. More than, Carl replied. The word love hovering unspoken. Too soon. Too vast. On stage at the gallery. Crowd electric. Carl read the fight scene. Voice cracking on I love you. Silence. Then thunderous claps. Backstage. Elena hugged him. He'd be grinning ear to ear. But the high crashed post-show. An email from an old Marine buddy. heard the news. You were one of us. This true? Carl's reply, truer than the lies I told myself. Betrayal echoed anew, not Harold's, but his own to the Brotherhood, the uniform's code. He drove solo to the Iowa line that weekend, pulling over at a rest stop, journal open on the dash. Forgive yourself, Carl. The punch, the silence. We're all just boys playing at men. Back home, confrontation brewed. The VFW gathering, Veterans Night, flags and foam turned ambush. Jake the bartender cornered him by the jukebox. Talk, man. That comic shit. You swinging for the other team now. Carl's fists clenched. Old reflexes firing. Always was, Jake. Just took dying to admit it. The punch flew from Jake. Sloppy drunk, Carl dodging, countering light, enough to drop him. Chaos erupted, chairs scraping, but Tom appeared, hauling Carl out. Enough. He's family. In the truck, Tom lit a smoke, windows cracked to the chill. Knew you were wrestling demons. Harold told me, after the will. Said to love you fierce. No matter. Carl stared at the dashboard, tears hot. I betrayed him, Tom. Everything. Tom's hand on his shoulder. Steady. Nah. You were scared. Ain't betrayal if it's fear. Fatherly wisdom. Hard one. Cracked Carl open further. Winter gripped tight. Snow blanketing sins. And Carl leaned into the thaw. Dates with Alex solidified, weekends in the city. Hands intertwined at Pride Museum exhibits. Harold's comic framed on Alex's wall. Romance bloomed tentative. Lazy mornings over diner pancakes. Alex's laugh echoing Harold's in pitch if not pain. But jealousy nipped, nights Carl woke sweating, dreaming of the loft, guilt twisting the sheets. Am I rebound? Alex asked once, vulnerable under cafe lights. Carl pulled him close. No. Your next chapter. Climax crested at the farm. Holiday lights strung defiant against the dark. Family dinner. Tom's turkey carved. Mom's pie steaming. Cousins toasting absent Harold. Carl stood midway through grace. Voice steady. Before we eat, this is for H. He played the voicemail. Tinny but true, miss you. Call me. Room hushed. Then his mom sobbed. Tom nodding fierce. To Harold, Carl raised his glass. And to secrets that set us free. But the real storm hit post-meal. Alone in the attic with Alex, who'd driven out. Snow fell thick outside, muffling the world, and Carl cracked fully, sobbing into Alex's chest, words spilling, the deployment loneliness, the bar flings that rang hollow, the love for Harold that never died, just evolved. I laughed at his coffin because it hurt too much to cry. Alex held him, whispers of it's okay. You're here. They made love slow on the old quilt. Bodies a dialogue of healing. Gentle where Harold's memory was fire. Affirming where doubt lingered. Afterward, tangled limbs. Alex traced Carl's tattoos. What's next? Carl smiled. First real one in months. Us. Whatever that looks like. Spring thawed the ground. And with it, Carl's resolve. He quit the shop, partnering with Elena on a foundation, Harold Sparks, funding queer youth art in the heartland. Readings turned advocacy, his voice booming in podcasts. America's big, but closets are small. Kick the door down, yet conflict lingered. A final twist, a letter from Sarah, ex-fiancé, post-reading clip. Saw you on TV. Happy for you. Wish I'd known. No venom, just grace. And Carl replied, me too. Thanks for the rehearsal. The betrayal scar faded, woven into strength. Carl visited the grave weekly, comic tucked under arm. Updates whispered to the stone. Alex says hi. We're good. Thanks for the push. Summer returned humid and heavy, corn whispering secrets to the wind, and Carl stood at the goalposts again. Alex beside him, hands laced casual as breathing. A year since the funeral, impossible, the hole in his chest scabbed over but tender, and the field hummed with ghosts. Harold's sketchbook pages fluttering in Carl's memory like fireflies. This where it started? Alex asked, voice low, his thumb stroking Carl's knuckle. Yeah. And ended, kinda. Carl squeezed back, the touch grounding. They'd built something solid. Alex relocating part-time to Des Moines, a loft apartment above the shop smelling of turpentine and motor oil, their rhythm a blend of city edge and country quiet. Dates at the fair, Ferris wheels creaking nostalgia, nights tangled in sheets, laughter replacing old silences. But the high-water mark crested that July 4th. Fireworks planned over the farmhouse. Family expanded. Tom's new knee brace. Mom's garden blooming defiant. Elena flying in with proofs for Sparks' volume. 2. The yard buzzed. Grill smoking burgers. Kids chasing sparklers. Alex flipping patties with easy charm. Carl watched from the porch. Beer sweating in his grip. Harold's absence a soft ache rather than stab. Tom sidled up, clapping his back. Proud, son. Of you. Of this. The nod encompassed Alex. The crowd. The life unfurling. Carl's throat tightened. Couldn't without you. Or him. Dusk deepened. Sky bruising purple. And they gathered blankets on the grass, waiting for the show. Alex's head on Carl's shoulder. Elena sketching idly, Harold's influence rippling. As the first rocket whistled, bursting gold, Carl pulled a small box from his pocket. Leather, like the journal. For you, he murmured to Alex, amid the ooze. Inside a key. Etched H&C redux. To the loft. Ours now. Alex's eyes welled. Kiss fierce under starburst light. Love you, he whispered. First utterance. Fitting the chaos. But climax waited in the quiet after. Fireworks fading to embers. Family drifting inside. Carl wandered the barn. Alex trailing. The loft stairs creaking memory. Up top, hay bales stacked nostalgic. He lit a lantern, shadows dancing like confessions. This is where, Carl said, voice rough. The kiss. The everything. Alex nodded, understanding without words. And they sat, legs dangling over the edge, night air thick with crickets. Carl unpacked the final secret, not Harold's, but his own coda. After the fight, I wrote letters. Never sent em. Burned most. But one, from the beam, hidden nail loose, envelope yellowed. To H. From C. 2022. He read aloud, halting. I hit you because you named it. The thing I couldn't. Love. Yeah. Not brothers. Deeper. Scarier. I'm sorry. If you read this, know I see you. Finally. Tears tracked. Alex's arm around him solid. You kept it, Alex said softly. Carl nodded. Waiting for this. For us. They made love there. Slow and sacred. The loft a time machine. Past pains transmuted to present grace. No ghosts intruded. Harold's spirit blessed. Not haunted. Months unspooled. Sparks grants awarded. A kid from Ottumwa sketching his first queer hero. Echoing Harold. Carl's readings sold out. Voice steady. Grief's a teacher. Love's the lesson. Alex proposed in Chicago. Under gallery lights. Ring simple silver. Partners in the corn? Carl laughed. Yes, tumbling free. Winter's end brought the grave visit. Snow melting to mud. Cherry blossoms tentative on the oak. Carl knelt. Comic weathered in his lap. Alex waiting by the truck. We did it. The secret's out. And it's beautiful. A breeze stirred petals. Almost a sigh. Back home. The farmhouse dinner. Turkey rerun. Laughter loud sealed it. Tom toasted. To family. Blood. Chosen. All. Eyes met Carl's. Approval deep. The end wasn't tidy. No boson by KIC drama. But humanistic. Raw Carl. Once laughing at shadows. Now embracing light. Harold's revelation. From beyond. Unlock chains, betrayal to forgiveness. Fear to fierce love. America stretched vast. Rooms for all. And Carl walked it unbowed. Hand in Alex's. Stepbrother's legacy a compass true. In quiet nights. Journal by the bed. Carl dreamed not of coffins. But canvases endless. Colorful. There's